Survey, show of hands. Who's got an elementary schooler? Okay, middle school? Okay, high school? Okay, so we're mixed around. Okay, cool. Adult children, possibly. Anyone has any? Okay, a few of those. It's mostly for the younger, but maybe this applies to the adults too. So we're going to talk about disengagement. Today, who am I? Why am I here? I am Alexander Borello. I work for a private practice therapy company called Evolving Lives. More specifically, I am what is called an existential psychodynamic psychotherapist. Big fancy terms that really just mean I talk to people about their life. I talk to them about their relationships, and probably my favorite thing to do is to talk to people about their life choices. Carrie talked a lot in the keynote, and I will try to sprinkle in notes from things she said to connect some bridges where I can, that we do a lot of things because we think we have to or because other people tell us to. So I like working with people on what do you actually want to do? So a good portion of what I talk about today will be one of the ways to get kids out of disengagement is to find something they like, especially because for our school-age students, so many of them, well, all of them, and so much of their life, I should say, is what they have to do. You're going to wake up at this time and you're going to go sit in a room for 8 hours and you're going to learn things because that's what everyone says you're doing today. They need a little bit of time to breathe and make their own choices. So I'm going to find some stuff. I'm going to talk about some different types of people, and I will spend most of the time on strategies on how to help your family because that's why you're here, right? So what is disengagement? Surface level is not doing much, it's not having connections, and it's not having things that we have planned for ourselves, right? But I can't be a therapist in the room, not give you a mildly clinical definition. So the way I look at it is detachment and apathy. And this usually comes from lack of priorities, connections, and intentions. Another way to think of this is like scheduling relationships and goals, which is pretty much where I'm going. So what does it look like? If you have a disengaged student, you will recognize this. It'd be even better if you were here because you're worried they're disengaged, but they're not there yet. But if they're already there, I will help, I promise. So, first thing is instability. A lot of it is poor boundaries. It's starting to do things we don't actually like, we don't actually want to be involved in, we don't connect to, but just kind of going along, right? Lack of coping skills. Stress happens, we get overwhelmed, we shut down, right? We don't even consider what we can do about it, we just go, nope, bad. A lot of fatigue. As someone who has been depressed before, I can tell you the number one thing is fatigue. So before I was depressed, I was disengaged. Before I was disengaged, I was just tired all the time, and I didn't know why. It's like, I'm tired. I'm not doing any more than I usually do. In fact, I'm doing less than I usually do. After this, you start to get interpersonal conflict. This is when you're at home, and your child starts yelling at you. And your child starts going around the house going, I'm bad, I'm not good enough, none of my friends like me, right? We've entered into this space. A lot of anger, a lot of guilt. Okay? Here's where detachment comes in. I'm not going to socialize, I'm not going to spend time with my family, I'm not going to spend time with my friends, because when I do that, I get mad at them or I feel bad about myself. And I don't want to do either of those things, so I'll just be over here in the corner. Ultimately, it's isolation. Now we get intense. It's the inferior sense of self. I am not good enough, I am a failure. These are your kids, and I'm going to talk a lot more about them later, who go, I got a B. I'm terrible. I'm bad, I'm dumb, nobody likes me, my parents will hate me, my teacher will hate me because I got a B. Is anyone thinking that? Nope, not except them. Right? You get this general sense of apathy. I don't want to do this, I don't care about anything, nothing is really important to me, so just why, right? If that gets really bad, we get to purposelessness and meaninglessness. Why am I even here? What's the point? We have a word for this, it's depression, right? So we want to look out for disengagement, because disengagement is in here. And, well, it starts back here too. Find it here before it gets all the way down here. If it gets here, there are things we can do. There are people we go to, like me, for this issue, right? But if we can help people before they get that far gone, it makes it so much easier. So I hear you asking silently in your own heads, but some kids will disengage at school, and then they seem fine when they're with their friends. Or they're mad at me at home. They're yelling at mom and dad all the time, but they're like, oh, my one teacher's so awesome. I'm like, is it just me? Is it just home? Why do you do this some of the time and you don't do this all the time? Because there's different kinds of people. Your kids are not you. What a surprise. And your kids are not each other either. Different people fall in different categories. And I'm going to tell you that there are possibly an infinite number. Psychology has broken human beings down into 5 categories and 20 categories. And I don't have time for that. We're going to cover 3. And I think the 3 covers most human beings pretty well, or a combination of the 3 covers most human beings. So it should cover anything you want to know with your kid. And if you really object to my categories, you can tell me again. They're going to be these. People who are achievement-focused, approval-focused or driven, and autonomy. If you don't have a sense of what category your child falls in yet, I can explain. So here's achievement-driven. These are your perfectionists and your high achievers that Carrie was talking about. Everything's got to be perfect all the time. I have to do everything the best way it can be done. And if it's not going to be the best, don't. Because what's the point? So they're very concerned with competence, or mastery of skills. They want to show how good they are at something. They also care a lot about recognition. I asked the previous group this. What is the #1 way your kids receive recognition? Praise is important, but it's not praise. Grades.
Oh, I was going to say
grades are the recognition. So if you're this type of person, sure, I could get a B, but I could get an A too, and an A's better. So I want an A. And actually, that's not even good enough because an A+ exists. And I really have to get the A+. I need all the shiny, and it depends on the age, right? I need the smiley face, I need the star, I need the shiny sticker, I need the A+, I need the 100% to tell everyone else how great I am, and to tell myself, yes, I am as perfect as I want it to be. And if they don't need it, big obsession with shortcomings, right? I'll tell you this as someone who has lived this. So I will tell you, I have been my whole life, still working on it, it's an ongoing process. I am an achievement autonomy combo person. So when I was in 6th grade, I had been a straight A student up until that point. I don't say this to brag, it's just the thing that happened in my life. And then I got a B. So what did I do? I cried in my teacher's classroom for 10 minutes because I could not take it. Because I thought that was the worst thing. I had failed, I was no longer valuable. Now, teacher didn't care, parents didn't care, friends didn't know about it and didn't care, but I cared. It was super important to me that I had failed. And then the next year I got an A in that class, and it really didn't make a difference in my life at all. But, 10-ish-year-old me didn't know that. This is why they tend to feel guilty. They tend to feel inadequate. And in some cases, it can start coming out as anger. So what you'll get occasionally is, I could have done better if I'd studied more. So a little bit they're angry at themselves. But that doesn't feel good. It's because mom and dad made me go to that event and I didn't get that extra hour to study. Or I didn't get an A on this essay because my teacher hates me. It's their fault because I don't like how it feels when it's my fault. They tend to have low self-esteem when things get bad. High esteem if things go well, but eventually they don't, because accidents happen, and then self-esteem plummets. Very self-critical. I already touched on this, but the rationalizing, which is it's someone else's fault because it can't be my fault because it doesn't feel good. And you'll never know any of this because they won't tell you, because their standards are completely internal. What you might notice, though, is actually losing concentration. So it's this interesting kind of, I don't know what you call it, paradox that happens. When they're trying to focus so hard on being perfect, your brain can't focus that intensely on one thing, so then you actually start to lose focus and it becomes harder because you're hyper-fixating on it being right. It's those kids who will be like, I have to write the perfect essay, so they start and they type the. And then they sit there for a half hour because they don't know the perfect next word. Just put any word and then it'll get better. Approval. Sometimes these are called dependence or follower types. So they don't do what they want to do. They want to do what everyone else around them wants to do. I'm going to go and do this activity. I'm going to join this club because my friend did it. And then I can be with my friend. I don't like this thing. I don't care about this thing. I don't know anything about it, but my friend's there. So I'll do it. If you take nothing else away from this slide, people pleasing. These are your people pleasers. They will do anything to make everyone else happy. As adults, we see this as, I will run my kids around, I will do things for my spouse, I will drive that random friend I have to the airport on a Tuesday at 7 in the morning, even though I need sleep and I need to care about my health, but it's not about me, it's about everybody else. And I get as a parent a little bit, it has to be about your kids, but there's a point where we've crossed the boundary into it's too much about other people, right? Very focused with relatedness and rejection. So if your friend, for the teens in particular, their friends go do something and they're not invited, that must mean they hate me, right? Or it could be they know you don't like this thing, so why ask you? It could be they're not hanging out today because they're busy, right? But that can't be it, because it has to be, I'm not there, so they hate me, right? They start to come to these conclusions. That's heard the term FOMO, and it's more popular, especially among the youngsters, right? This is their regret. Anytime something happens with other people that they like and they don't get to do it, they're like, oh, I should have been there. Because now they're going to tell jokes and they're going to tell stories about that thing they all did together, and I'm going to be sitting over here going, I have no idea what they're talking about, right? If they spend too much time away from other people, they get super, super lonely. And if they get super lonely, they get desperate. I will talk to anyone for any reason, right? Tend to need a sense of protection, sense of guidance of what to do in their life. And then just kind of jumping over, these are some of my favorites. So they will idealize. Their friends are perfect, especially with the older students. You will find their friends are perfect and you as their parent are absolutely not perfect in every single way. That is part of growing up. When I started learning more and more about these different categories and how we think about them in the field, I came across this term, which I hadn't known previously and I was super excited about, shutting down for harm, which essentially means me and my friend are navigating some situation, right? And they want to do something and I don't. Or they think this is a good idea and I think it's not a good idea. But if I voice that I disagree with them, now we're in conflict. I don't want conflict because that would mean that they hate me. So I won't say anything. And I will just go along with this thing that I don't like and don't want to do to keep them happy, right? So they're starting to disengage so that they can people please, which is two bad things on top of each other. And they tend to self-sacrifice for that reason. Lastly, and then we'll take a break after the three big categories, right? Autonomy-driven people are your loners, your really independent people. I don't mind calling them loners because I have been one. They tend to be introspective. Or if you know the term introverted, they are your introverts. They are your classic introverts most of the time. They are easily overstimulated. My best way of describing this, you take one of these people and you put them in a party with 30 other people. What is the first thing that they're going to do? I'll tell you the first thing I'm going to do. Right? I'm going to stand in the corner, ideally by a door. Okay, I don't do that so much now, but I used to. Because this is too much. There's too much going on that is not within me. I can't tolerate it. And they tend to be very sensitive for that reason. Sensitive is nice. Sometimes sensitive is a really nice quality. They care about what's going on around them. As long as it isn't too much. Okay? Something to be careful of. If you have an autonomy-driven child, they tend to come across as indifferent. And I want to make a distinction between indifferent and disengaged. Indifferent is, I don't like that thing. I don't care about it, so I'm not going to do it, right? They're expressing a preference. And it seems like they're disengaging, but they're really just saying no because no, right? And they may not be able to articulate the reason, but it's just no. As opposed to, that thing is scary, that upsets me, so I'm going to back away from it because it's bad. That's very different than I'm backing away just because I just don't feel like it, okay? I'm more concerned with leaving things disengaging because they're bad and we're scared and we're afraid and we're getting emotional, as opposed to having a choice. But sometimes that choice comes out as just eh. And an choice is a choice. So, isolated by uniqueness, this is my fancy way of saying geeks and nerds. Your geeks and nerds tend to fall in this category. Your D&D loving kids, some of your video game loving kids, your ones who will go on the computer and come back to you an hour later and say, did you know these 17 new facts about moles? You're like, why did you look up moles for 3 hours? And they're like, because they're awesome. Okay, right? I talked to a parent about a year ago at an event who was telling me that their child liked to look up things about planets all the time. Why? Turns out, kid was considering being an astronomer. It is with purpose. It is with intention. They're very mindful of what they like. It just, to an outsider, seems like randomness. So it's worth asking them and inquiring. They have these very passionate solo interests, which could become careers or could become great hobbies. We want to foster that. Downside is they lack social skills. Because they don't like being around other people, they'll never learn how to be around other people. So we do have to push them a little bit. You can have 2 friends and it's okay. I'm not going to make you have 30 friends. That will scare you. I can make you have 2. So, deep breath. I gave you a lot of information, but I will do something with it. I won't just leave it. So, parents in the room, you're asking, does my child's type affect the strategies that you have to use to re-engage them? It's a rhetorical question. You know it's yes. I wouldn't be here if it was no. I would just end the presentation now. No, of course it matters. It matters significantly. So I'm going to paint a picture for you, what it looks like when these different types disengage. These are examples. I'm not saying your child, if they're in this category, thinks exactly this. It's roughly this, okay? If you fall in these categories, you may be thinking this, so be mindful of your own mindset. Achievement-driven people. I have to be successful, right? If I'm not going to be good at this thing, what's the point? I'm not going to do it. If I can't be right, if I can't be perfect, I shouldn't do it. Because being number 2 isn't worth it. Only if I'm number 1, even though there's a lot of great things about being number 2. You're number 2 out of 8 billion. That's amazing. Go be number 2. But if they're super disengaged, as soon as if not 1, we're done. Approval does basically the same thing, but with other people. If this person can't do something for me, if this person can't help me, can't serve me, can't protect me, no, I got to go find people who will do those things for me. And your autonomy people, sometimes this is a little weird for people who have never had this conversation. But I tell people all the time, if you are a parent who has an autonomy child, you've had this conversation 100 times and this will seem familiar. I'm fine not doing that. I'm really happy not doing it. I'm not going to do it. That's it. If it's not a problem, it's not a problem, right? You want me to have friends. I don't have friends. I am happy. Why have friends? There's no point in friends because I'm happy without them. And then you say, there's a lot of good things friends can do for you. I'm not noticing what they are, right? Because you don't have any, right? But we have to kind of get them out of this loop of, yes, I'm sure your life is great right now, right? Until they start getting disengaged and they go, I feel incomplete. I feel like I don't have a lot of purpose, but I can't imagine why, right? You know why. They don't know why. So they give you, it's not a problem. So here's what I want you to focus on going forward for the rest of the presentation. I'm going to give you baseline strategies. It doesn't matter what category your child is in, they will help. Beyond that, we want to appeal to what type they are, and then we want to challenge them. So we don't want to take our achievement person and force them into an approval bucket. They will not do well. We want to say, great, let's help you achieve things with other people. And let's help you achieve things in a way that you're not being a perfectionist. But I will still let you be good at stuff because I know you like that, right? Essentially try and find ways to do this. And I have examples. So, this is great because Carrie did so much work for me on this slide already that I don't have to explain it as much, and I'm super excited. Thank you, Keynotes. This is setting appropriately engaging schedules. So, I know different schools start at different times. Roll with me for a minute. We're going to say they all start at 8. Just make it simple, right? This is what their day looks like, right? They got class, they got lunch, they got class again. Pretty normal. And you as a parent come in and go, what's all this white space? Gotta put something in there. You're not doing anything. Okay, so we start putting a bunch of stuff in, right? Anyone notice what's missing? Dinner. And the absolute favorite, sleeping, which we have to do. So the problem with this, two main problems. There's a lot of problems, but I'll focus on two. One, we get 4 hours of sleep in this particular example. And 10-minute breakfast, not healthy. You're going to get indigestion, right? But this is the way so many families build schedules. I do a good amount of work in Novi in Northville. Oh gosh, y'all need to calm down on the schedule, okay? I'm going to show you the right way to build a schedule. There are 24 hours in a day. You will spend 7 to 9 of them asleep. Most humans need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. It differs person to person. Average 8, say, okay? Food. 30 minutes might even be a little short, but I'll grant you some quick meals, okay? Lunch is part of the school or workday, right? It's part of your standard 8 hours of doing whatever, right? You commute, maybe your commute is longer. If your commute is longer, you gotta factor that in. What are we left with? We are left with 6 plus or minus 2 hours by my count, and notice I did not put your child's homework in there, which could be one of those hours, it could be 5, it could be 7, right? You are not going to have enough time for these things. You will not have enough time to do 4 activities in one day. Your child does not have enough time. Okay? I realize the trade-off. I realize the trade-off is that they don't get to experience as many things. And I realize for some of the older kids, they want to really build that resume to get into the good high schools and the good colleges, right? I'm sorry. Over here, your mental health plummets, and then you're calling me every week. Over here, you're mentally healthy. Now, I don't mind if you call me every week, but I'd rather you be mentally healthy. Being chronically overwhelmed is the number one way to get to disengage. It always, I promise you, starts with lack of sleep. I've been doing work in therapy, particularly with depression, for nearly 7 years. I have not worked with a depressed person, or a disengaged person, if you will. During our first meeting, I did not ask, how's your sleep? And the number of times I've heard, oh, it's pretty good, I get about 5 hours. And then I have to have the conversation, we need to redefine good, because that's not good, right? Happens all the time. So I can encourage you to get your kids in bed, save us a lot of trouble. Okay? So how are you going to do this? And this goes for any child. Goes for yourselves too, by the way. You're going to schedule priorities first in 1 second. All extracurricular activities, I do not care how much your child loves them, are wants. Priorities are sleep, diet, school, and homework as adjacent to school. Those are the priorities. Everything else, we schedule after. Carrie touched on this in the keynote. Rest and boredom, I kind of added boredom, but are necessary. You schedule time to do nothing. Nothing is not scrolling on your phone. Nothing is not doing that really easy homework. Nothing means nothing. It could be staring at the wall. Maybe that's a little boring, but contemplate life. Think about your choices. You can maybe schedule like your day for tomorrow. You can write in a planner. That's pretty easy. Talk to your family. Wow. Consistent family dinner time is excellent. It is a chance for everyone to unwind, to rest, to get in a good meal, and to engage with another human being in a way that does not involve being perfect. It doesn't involve getting people's approval. It involves sitting in a space and looking at another human and saying, hi, how was your day?
I like your high-low buffalo, too.
Yes.
Give the high, and give a low.
Low. You can give a high, you can give a low. You can even just tell me about your day. Someone in the previous breakout asked about, what do you do when you have an older child and a younger child and, they're bickering at the dinner table? Their days are so different. Just tell me about your day. And it might even bridge a connection because your older child can go, oh, I had that teacher. Yeah, second grade stuff, I know. Right? It's a good opportunity to foster those relationships. And someone's low might be someone else's low, or they've had that low before, and they can say, I've had that low, I got through that low. Right? Now, with each type, you do want to do something a little bit different. So I phrase these in terms of questions to ask your kids. They're largely phrased in terms of the way you would speak to a middle schooler or high schooler. If you have a younger kid and want to use these, rephrase your parents. You know how to talk to your kids. Okay? For the achievement types, we want to focus on what would you like to learn to do if the appearance didn't matter. If you weren't trying to build that resume, if you weren't trying to prove you're perfect at stuff, what would you like to do? And maybe your child says basket weaving or goat yoga, right? You cannot achieve at those. You cannot be perfect at those very easily, but you know what? They like it. Get them to do things that don't have scoring tied to them. For approval, I said before, they're followers. They'll do what everyone around them wants. So what is something you want to do? Have you suggested the next big activity that you and your friends all go do? And they're like, no, we usually just do what Sandy says. What would you like to do? So it's letting them connect, but it's pushing them just out of their comfort zone because now they have to make the choice. And then for our autonomy friends, and I love this, so I mentioned before they tend to be kind of the nerdier types. They might think that they're the only person in the world who likes the thing that they like because other people at school don't, right? Someone out there does, I guarantee it. Encourage them to go find the people and places. Someone else in that school likes that weird thing that they like, I guarantee it. Go out in the community. There are little shops all over the place. We're dedicated to certain niche things. There are websites dedicated to darn near everything. They will find their people. All right. I trust everyone's had some conversation like this before. Why don't you go do things? Don't want to. You should. No. They're disengaged, you're frustrated, no progress was made. Right? How do we get them out of these conversations? So for me and the type of therapist that I am, I focus a lot on developmental transition. And there are 4 key ages that I want you to keep in mind. They are 6, 12, 14, and 18. In other words, going from kindergarten to first, going from elementary to middle school, into high school, into college. It's wonderful that the school and the ages line up. Wow, I wonder if it was designed that way, right? These times are especially difficult because their schedule tends to change the time they start school, how many classes they have. There's a new friend group usually. If you go to a now bigger school, there's more people, there's new teachers, right? There's a lot of stuff happening. So we have to offer them some extra support. It's really easy to disengage because we get in the new environment, we go, new scary stuff. And we run away. I want to go back to just what I had before, and you can't. So we want to support them, like gradually start to accept these new things that are coming into your life. With that, we want to give them opportunities to practice their skills. This is both skills they have and skills they don't have. If your child is good at math, if your child is good at soccer, make them do more math, make them do more soccer, if they want to, obviously. Help them foster the things they're already good at. And then find a couple little things they're not good at. Again, your autonomy people, make a friend. Your approval people, make a decision for the friend group, right? I'm asking for one, right? But help them learn those skills. They will get better over time. And you as a parent get the golden power of setting every expectation in your household. You get to do that. Yay, you. Set your expectations, but I would negotiate the next steps. So you talk to your child and you say, this is what I want to see. I am not expecting you to get there tomorrow. What I'm expecting is that you and I can come to an agreement what a reasonable next step in the next week or month are. We're going to do that. We're going to see how that goes. And then we're going to go to the next step, especially if it's something outside their comfort zone, which it probably is. Because if you expect it and it's in their comfort zone, they're probably already doing it, right? Helping them individually. For your achievement types, you want to help them gain confidence. So this is taking their desire to be good at stuff, but making it social. How can I help you get to the place where you want to be? I'm not going to help you get to perfect. I am not going to promise you that. I'm going to help you get better and feel better about this thing. For your approval types, this is your fear of missing out, absolutely. It's, okay, what's all the stuff that's been happening around you that you didn't participate in or you wanted to have more opportunity for, and how can we find ways to make some of that up a little bit? Not going to make up everything. We got to accept some stuff's just gone, but we can offset. And then for autonomy, I think I mentioned before that they tend to be pretty self-aware. Use it to your advantage and say, okay, all right, you're smart. Why do you think I want you to go out and try more activities? Because it's good for me and I should be social, because when I get in the business world, I gotta talk to people and have skills. Right. Now it's your idea that that's a good thing to do. You can meet me halfway. Because now we're in agreement that you need to do this. Even if you're reluctant, you agree that I have a good idea. Right? So making sure they have some ownership. They feel a little, they'll still resist you, but they'll feel a little better about it. Last big section I'm going to go over is breaking down goals. There are 100 ways to break down goals. I'm sure the school system has a whole bunch, and they probably taught parents about them a million times. This is my way. That goals are a product of three things: values, expectations, and reality. So values and expectations come from three places. Comes from ourselves, comes from our family, comes from our society or our culture. What's important? What should we focus on? Then there's reality. And I will give my standard reality example. It's an adult example, but it could apply to kids. You love basketball. You would like to be a basketball player. Your local rec league has openings for the team. That's great. Wonderful opportunity for you. But you are a parent. You are parenting your child. You have a job. You do not have time to practice and make your game better. So you're going to go into that tryout exactly the way you are right now. You have some obligations in the way. And in this example, you are 4'2". You have a massive limitation. You will never be good at this sport. I am sorry. The chances that you are good at this sport are very, very low. So you have to set your goals based on that. You can go and you can try out. You can try to make the team. You can keep that goal. Or you can say, maybe not the best use of my time because I'm going to be bad at it. What else can I do that's better equipped to my schedule and my abilities? So where do these types fall? Achievement people are up here. They're very focused on the personal. What are my values and expectations of myself? It's a little bit family and society because they think you all care about them being perfect as much as they do. But it's largely personal. The approval people are very family and society. I gotta do what everyone else wants. I gotta appease everybody else. It isn't about me at all. And then our autonomy friends completely leave and come all the way down here, where they're very focused on what's right in front of them. What can I do? What can I not do? That's it. There's nothing else. There's only what's here. Oh, for a second. Okay, so everyone, but particularly for the achievement types, we want to question our expectations. If you think that you have to have straight A's to get into a decent college, you are not correct. We as adults know that, they do not. If you're an approval type and you think that everyone has to like you, or your life is doomed, you are not correct. Your expectation is wrong. If you think that no one else likes the things you like because you are such a loner, you are wrong. And we want to help them challenge those expectations and start to see that things aren't always black and white. There is nothing that a middle school or teenage kid loves more than seeing the world in black and white. They cannot help it. Their brains are not fully developed. Especially with those age groups, we want to balance individuating from the external. They are very preoccupied with their friends and with their social world and what high school life is like. Make a choice. Be an independent person, because in 4 to 8 years, guess what you're gonna be? You're gonna be in the world and you're gonna have to individuate. You're gonna maybe live by yourself and have to buy your own food, right? So we wanna get them used to this idea that it's okay and it's safe. And then helping them explore alternatives. You can't do this thing isn't working out, there's always another option. More specifically, I love this question. I will be totally transparent with you. I have asked a number of achievement people this question. And I will tell you right now, it doesn't always go well. Yeah. Because when I say, what would it mean if you changed your standards, the standard response that I get is, I can't. I can't do that. That's impossible. And on the off chance they actually engage in the hypothetical, and they're like, okay, let me think about it. I almost always see, how much tension were you carrying with everything you think you have to be? And I usually have to ask about 6 times before they actually entertain the darn hypothetical. Okay? For the approval types, it is what is unique and important to you. This is helping them realize they are not defined by who their friends are. They are not defined by their parents. You're lovely, but they are a different person. What's one thing you like that no one else likes? It's almost trying to coax them a little bit into being the autonomy type just for a second. To say, tell me something about you that isn't true of anyone else. There is something. It'll take them a while to figure it out, but there is something. And then lastly, our autonomy friends. What would be the worst if you explored your options? To use my basketball example, what's the worst thing that happens if you take your 4'2" self, or in your kid's case, your 2'5" self, and you walk over and you try out for the team? Well, the worst thing that happens is you don't make a single shot, and the coach goes, yeah, there's no way. And then you go home and you try a different activity. You're not dead. Nobody hates you. The world didn't fall apart. You just can't go do that thing. Or you can't do that thing in that setting, even. You might be able to do it somewhere else. But they tend to catastrophize. Like, there's no way I could ever engage in this thing that I'm supposed to do. No, you can't. It's not that bad, most of the time. So, I will summarize. Great, a good time. Probably the biggest thing is that disengagement doesn't need to be depression. If it becomes depression, we deal with it. But we can stop it before it gets there by watching for our priorities and our goals and our relationships. And it's really easy to start doing that at home. I'm asking a lot of you, but also I'm not. There are different types. But for the sake of a good summary slide, I left it to the things that everyone can do. And it is really about scheduling your time, helping them when things get tough, and helping them discern what's them and what's everyone else. And the better you can start these skills, and I am not shaming the high school parents, but for those of you with a younger child, the sooner you can start those skills, the better off they are. They are less likely to end up into this space. If they develop the skills when they're 5, the skills don't just disappear when they're 15. You might have to re-up. You might have to reapply those skills to the new situation, but the skill is there. And you could say, hey, remember when you were 5 and we did this thing and it didn't work out, but then it did. They go, so this thing now is kind of like that? Yeah. But thank you. I am so glad you came, and I am happy to answer questions in the 10-ish minutes we actually have.